Man, another big game coming up. Friday, we have Kansas City versus the Chargers, and the Chiefs are coming off, obviously, a Super Bowl loss. What do y'all see from that game? Obviously, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, how do you think they would bounce back from last year? Do you think they would be the Chiefs of old in this game?
I think there's the story that I'm expecting from this game is you have a young, hungry team in the LA Chargers versus a long legacy team in the Kansas City Chiefs. Mm-hmm. How does the Kansas City Chiefs manage expectations with saying, hey, we still that team?
Okay.
Everybody has built a roster to, in some way, shape, form, beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
Real.
I think if I'm Patrick Mahomes, I think if I'm Travis Kelce, this is not one of those games that we could come over and, in the famous words of Coach Belichick, you don't just stick your toe in this game. You got to jump in full-fledged head first, right? And if you allow a team like LA to get on top, they're built to have a suffocating way of playing the game. They run the football extremely well, play off of play action, allowing Justin Herbert to really get in a groove with those type of things. Coach Harbaugh is a run-first type of coach, and he's going to dominate or try to dominate the line of scrimmage. I think what Kansas City has to kind of go against is, hey, proving to everybody and even people in that locker room and in that organization that it's still our time. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be the hardest thing. Yeah, Rashee Rice is going to be miss 6 games. But on top of that, how will Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, Juju, and Travis kind of combinate and what's the running back? Pacheco, have a way to alleviate the stress from Patrick Mahomes.
Let's talk ball for a moment. Let's talk ball. I don't like this game for the Chiefs, but I still like the Chiefs in general. Reason I don't like this game, not that they won't win, it just will be probably uglier. I'm going to say something that might not make sense early on. I'll explain it. When you play the Chargers, you only have 5 days to prepare. When you play normal NFL teams, you usually have about 14 weeks to prepare. What do I mean? The Chargers play a brand of football that not many other teams play. Usually when you play another team, you can pull from OTAs. You can pull from minicamp. You can pull from phase 2, phase 3. You can pull from all these different plays that you have installed that work versus standard teams. 3 wide receiver sets, 4 wide receiver sets. But when you play the Chargers, they come out there with a fullback. They come out there in 22 personnel, 21 personnel, 2 tight ends, 2 running backs, 2 tight ends, 2 tight ends, 1 running back. All of a sudden, you only have those 5 days of preparation. That's why I think the Chargers jumped on so many people. Y'all remember Harbaugh's first year with the Niners, championship game. His second year with the Niners, Super Bowl appearance. This is his second year with the Chargers. We can do the math. I'm not suggesting Super Bowl appearance, but what I am suggesting is the Chargers are, to me, like Georgia Tech and Army in college. Not that it's a triple option, but it's that you don't have a lot of preparation to lean back on because your OTA install practices, those are irrelevant when you play the Chargers. If you miss one gap, it's blouses. And they just play a brand of football that, for the most part, modern-day NFL defensive players don't like to play against. So I don't like this game week 1 for the Chiefs. Mahomes is Mahomes. Never bet against Mahomes. But that, to me, is just how I'm looking at this game.
So let's keep talking ball here. When you talk about the defensive philosophy of the NFL, Emmanuel, when you say what's the common kind of trend, they're playing with 5 DBs on the field, which goes to your point.
Yeah.
It's extremely frustrating when you see an H-back, a fullback, or an extra tight end coming to the game and do not, and I will say this again, do not find yourself down by 2 scores. 10 points for the Los Angeles Chargers in any Harbaugh team. You could even date back to when he was at Michigan. He has this way of suffocating the opponents because now defensively they have to throw the football. Every single time you talk about preparation in any game, you have to do what first? Stop the run. Yep. If you have a team that wants to run, has to run, and is running the ball effectively, you're in trouble. So
let me say something to that, Cam.
Go ahead.
Let me say something to that because people always use this phrase, stop the run, not talking about you, but in general. Oftentimes, you just have to give the impression that you stopped the run.
That.
Most teams' head coaches are former quarterbacks. Most teams' offensive coordinators are former quarterbacks, and most teams' quarterback coaches are former quarterbacks. So everybody that's dictating the play call usually wants to pass the ball. So a defense don't ever have to stop the run. They just got to discourage it enough to make the OC and the head coach do what they wanted to do anyway.
Right.
That don't work versus Harbaugh because he actually wants to run the football. So to Cam's point, most teams stopping the run, bro, if in the first 8 plays, y'all run the ball 6 times and you have a cumulative
12
15 yards,
you feel what I'm saying?
start passing.
Right.
Y'all finna start passing it. But the Chargers, it don't matter. They just gonna keep running and running and running and running. So I like what Cam said, but I think oftentimes viewers hear, oh, we just gotta stop the run. You don't even really gotta stop the run. You just gotta stop the impression of the run. But that don't work against Harbaugh.
Yeah, I said it too. We keep talking ball here. I like where we at. You can really tell the identity of a coach in these type of situations. Okay. What does the coach do in 3rd and 4 or less? We've seen Coach Harbaugh call run plays that will normally be a given pass, short game, or option route in a pass game for most teams. Well, I think Coach Harbaugh has this thinking and theory to say, hey, we run the ball on first down, we run the ball on second down. Hey, we could potentially get ourselves in a situation where we can run the ball on third down. Now we can still use what we call a play action ISK to give a small throw with big opportunities to be had. And when you talk about what coaches really want to do, Coach Harbaugh really wants to run the football. And that was kind of the hints of what made Justin Herbert successful last year, because he had a lot of touchdowns and not so many interceptions because of that philosophical view of how they approach the offensive game plan.
So I know y'all talked about Coach Harbaugh a lot. I mean, obviously on the other side, or the other team, you got Andy Reid. How do you feel like he'll show up? Obviously, you know, you have Patrick Mahomes. That's a cheat code in the game right now. But who do you feel like would coach a better game in this first game, and why? Between you all two.
Go ahead, bro.
Andy Reid, greatest coach in the history of football. So Andy Reid, he's the greatest offensive mind, and I believe also greatest coach in the history of football. Andy Reid will likely coach. Hard to say he'll coach a better game because Harbaugh go crazy too, if we're being really real. People don't give enough respect to Harbaugh. Andy Reid's going to have Pat ready to play. Trav, we already know how locked in he is. He's going to be ready to play. And Xavier Worthy in his second year, I think he's going to be the difference maker. But Andy Reid, greatest coach in the history of football. So to me, you can never, ever, 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 ever bet against Andy Reid. Ever.
I hear you, Taylor. Kelce, ever, 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 ever getting back together. I see what you did with that. But not so fast with that type of take, because now you have to ask this question. How do we defend Travis Kelce, the greatest tight end in NFL history? Do you say, Derwin James, hey, you're locked in on that guy the whole game? Or do you say, hey, let's take another secondary member and another secondary member, and we double team Travis El Travador and allow Derwin James to roam free? We've seen these type of tactics in so many different ways of attack, and that's what's going to come to light. How do you defend Travis Kelce? And how, you know, he's still a spark plug. How do we frustrate him in a way that now he's pushing the greatest coach, in your words, on the sideline? He's screaming. He's throwing his helmet on the sideline. He still has that in his bag. Yeah. He's still that guy that can and will get frustrated given the circumstances in the second half or the third quarter if he's looking at 1 catch or 3 targets for 8 yards. You see what I'm saying? Yep. I think the biggest matchup will be how do they defend Travis Kelce, but more or less how do they play Derwin James and allow him to roam and be a real disruptor in this game.
So next,
you know what's crazy though? Let me say something unconventional real quick, Peggy, and people might think I'm crazy. Cam, if I'm mentor the DC, Trav gonna have to show me something. Trav's my dog on a personal level, but on a professional level, Trav got to show me he still got it. Last year, Trav ate versus zone coverage because I believe he's the most cerebral tight end currently playing, one of the most cerebral tight ends in the history of the game. But the tape says, not Emmanuel Acho, the tape says versus press man, Trav didn't have it like that last year. I watched Murray of the Texans versus man D up Trav. I watched them put DeMar Hamlin on Trav. Like, I'm not putting Derwin James on Travis Kelce. I'm not double teaming Travis Kelce. Trav is going to have to show me that he is still Travis Kelce. And once he has shown me, then I will adjust. But I think Cam is right. How do you guard Trav? But Trav he's going to have to re-earn the respect of defenses in man coverage. Zone coverage, he a different type of killer.
I think, too, another thing as I'm thinking is, how do we minimize Andy Reid's ability to create the gadget play, right? How do we get him in a situation where now it's 3rd and 12, 3rd and 9, those type of situations? Because when those gadget plays show up, they show up in the red zone. They show up in a 3rd and short or a short yardage situation that gives him time to say, okay, we got a throwaway play. We're going to take a shot here. And that shot is not going to always come with a deep threat, that you got to think about. Last year, first game of the season or one of the early games when they was playing the Ravens, that gadget play came by way of a reverse, and Xavier Worthy was able to showcase his speed and how fast and explosive he was, right? When you start thinking about Andy Reid and his play call selection, the Los Angeles Chargers has to get them behind the sticks, all right? This is still week 1. If this matchup was week 6, if this matchup was even very well week 4 or week 5, then we already know what Kansas City is capable of. But now the cat's out the hat, right? This is the team that went to the Super Bowl and was exposed and frustrated because the Philadelphia Eagles made opportunities from the mistakes that Patrick Mahomes had. They made him extremely uncomfortable. Hey, Khalil Mack Daddy, do you still got it? Can you still be breathing down Patrick Mahomes' back and make him uncomfortable where he's at least seeing or feeling your presence? Those type of things is games within the games that you're going to have to ask, and it's going to show itself within the first quarter or the first couple of plays. But nevertheless, what I do believe is the Kansas City Chiefs will find a way to win this football game.